Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's August 27th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. Real quickly before we get started, a couple of things here I wanted to discuss. Uh, One, we've done this in the past, and I don't know, it hadn't entered my mind until lately, until another trader uh, contacted me. At one time, we would, if the volatility got higher, we would lower the tick chart to kind of compensate for that. And I got to where I just quit doing that, and traders were still doing it, but I just wouldn't do it um, because I just hate changing anything. But now looking back on it, at one time I would change mine with the volatility. And so this trader said he was trying 1,000 tick chart, and he marked it up and sent it to me, and he had a couple of trades there. And he said he got a couple of second entries, and they were inside the. He was able to use the 8 tick rule and things like that. So I downloaded a second chart and just kind of marked it up and looked at it, and it does. I kind of like the 1,000 tick chart. It does seem to smooth things out a little bit. You get a whole lot more bars, obviously, so the volume looks a lot higher. Even though the volume's the same, it'll look a lot higher because you get so many more bars. But I think it's worth trying. I'm not telling anybody to go trade this live because one of the things, if you get your if you go to too small a tick chart, you'll start to get a lot of false signals. So you got to be careful with that. But I'm thinking somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500. Maybe experiment with them. I'm looking at 1,000 tick chart because it's what he said he opened, and it does look more like the original 2,000 tick chart when the volume was volatility was higher. So it might be worth trying to do that for some of you that are concerned about the large size, especially um, if you're scalping singles. Just as an example, I'm gonna pop it up here and show you. I know that this is just looking at one small part of 1,000 tick chart here. Let me get it on here. This is just looking at one small part of it, but I noticed that hey, you get a second entry here, you get one here. That one's close. Does that one qualify? Maybe. You get one here that would have. This probably breaks lower first and comes up and then comes back down. But when it comes back, you could trade it on the way back down. So you get a second entry there. Where I think on my chart I only found one real true second entry I liked here that you could trade. Um, this one really is a third entry. There's one, that one would have failed. Here's a second entry, a nice one. Coming down, there's one there. Seemed like there was another one down here somewhere. There's a second entry long. Oh, I'm not all the way back to the morning yet. This is still. This is just a range. There's some trades here, and there's a long there, a short there, possibly a long there. Let's see what we got here. That's mostly side. This is your news here. Um, First entry. There's a second entry there. I don't think you want to take that. There were a couple coming down here. There's a first entry, second entry right there. I was thinking there was a couple of others here. Oh, here's the other one. Maybe is that the one I just showed? First entry, second entry right there. There's one. We just showed that one. There's a lower high. Actually, You could count that as a double bottom, and that is a second entry. So there were a couple. I was thinking there were a couple in a row there. So anyway, I think it's worth looking at. Let's just look at the size. I mean, some of the signal bars. That one's 13 ticks. There was one here. That one's 10 ticks. Where were they up here? What's the size of this bar? 8 ticks. 7 ticks. We talked about that one, maybe 10 ticks. 8 ticks. There was a second entry long there. That's an iffy one. 8 ticks. Here's a second entry long. 7 ticks. So it does seem to make the signal bars a little smaller. There was one here. 6 ticks. I'm on the right one. 6 ticks, yep. We talked about that one. 8 ticks. That's a, seemed like there was another one in here. 7 ticks. 6 ticks. So anyway, something to look at there and think about going to a 1,000 tick chart. The other thing I wanted to talk about, I usually don't hawk my materials here or anything like that, but several people have said I should mention the second entry indicator more often, that it's really helped them. And so if you're not aware, we do have a second entry indicator that we use. It's not a trading tool. You don't use it to set up trades. You use it to help you identify second entries. And so it is available on our site. It's $100. I know there's a couple other people that have tried to copycat us, and they've come up with a second entry indicator. Unless they've improved them, the ones I saw didn't count properly. They weren't working exactly right. They had some different rules with them. So I know that ours works. It counts properly. You can turn the sounds on and off. You can have it where it stays on the chart, or where it comes on or off the chart. It only shows the current one. There's several things there. So I'll start mentioning that second entry from time to time. If you're interested, just go to our site and you'll see on the home page, I think there's a link right there to purchase our second entry indicator. It'll take you to the right place. And it's basically $99 and something. It's basically $100. So, but if you're struggling trying to learn second entries, what I try to tell people is don't use it permanently. It's like a crutch to help you learn and get well, and eventually you want to wean yourself off of it so you don't walk on a crutch the rest of your life, because it is a crutch. But it's a very helpful crutch for some people in the beginning that wouldn't be able to find second entries without it. And I don't mention it much or talk about it, but several traders have prodded me to mention it, that it's really helped them, and they don't understand why I didn't talk more about it. And I usually just don't hawk my wares on here. I've never done that, and that's not the intent of my YouTube videos. The idea here is to show the trades for the day so you can compare your chart to mine and see what you missed or what you saw, and to learn from. But I'll start mentioning that second entry indicator occasionally, and so go to the site and take a look at it, and if you're interested. But let's go back to the 2,000 tick chart. Actually, we'll go all the way back to the daily chart first and take one more look at that before we get started. Okay, here's our daily chart. You can see we did pull back and test that midline again, and it held, and we got a bullish bar that looks like it's going to close higher today. There's still 40 minutes left in this trading day, so it could change before the day's over. But it looks like we're going to bounce, and we may push higher again here. The path of least resistance is down because we're overbought. But this market's strong, and I still think we're going high. I still think we're going to make an all-time new high, Maybe we work sideways here a little bit. Maybe we bounce and kind of chop along, and then all of a sudden we'll shoot up. We don't know how we're going to get there, but I think we'll get there. Um, so anyway, there it is. Um, that's the way it looks on the daily. It looks very bullish. It's more of a sideways, choppy day that closes on this closing on its high because we haven't closed yet on the 2,000 tick chart. So we'll flip over there in a minute and we'll take a look at that. And I'll continue to watch this 1,000 tick chart, and maybe we'll switch down to 1,000 or 1,500 tick chart before long and trade that, and until the volatility slows down again. So anyway, let's flip over to that other chart and take a look. Okay, as you can see, it's just a big range day today. Originally I had the range highs here, but it turns out they just moved a little bit higher, and you can still see that kind of fits for our midline there in the end. So it just kind of expanded a little bit, but I still think it's a range day, and looks like we're going to close up here near the highs. I mean, that could change again. We got 35 minutes, so that could change, but the market's moving really slow right now, so I don't foresee it changing too much, but you never know. But let's zoom in here. Had a good start early this morning in this downtrend. There's clearly a two-tiered channel here, and notice we're working up. We get a close outside, new high, and we don't get a good signal bar here, but we immediately get a lower high with a nice signal bar. I like going short there. And then we make another swing low here, and we get a second entry short right here with another good signal bar. And we also get this close outside, and then we run to a new low, and then we reverse out of here. I still like this one. We got one more second entry here. Everything's still mostly below the EMA, and this channel has played out. We got a close outside, new high. It's clearly a second entry with a bearish bar that looked bullish at first. So you should be able to at least get a scalp out of that if we don't run and make another new low. And you can see we easily got a scalp. I can't remember how many points it got there, but you can see it's almost 4 points there. So, and then it reverses, and it turns out we've got the break and new low, and we reverse. I don't see any reason to go long. There is a second entry long here, and notice the new high. Actually, no, I take that back because we did make a new high right there. So skip that. This runs us into the news item. See up here we had a consumer confidence report at 9 o'clock, so 10 minutes prior, and you know, it didn't really affect it much. Really, by 4 or 5 after, you could see we'd kind of settle down, just going sideways. And you can see we got a triple test right at the key entry point, plus it's a second entry long. We don't really look for second entries when you're moving sideways like that because you can get chopped up. But the triple test at the lows when we're trying to go long, when you're in an uptrend, and so we just got to close outside. So we'll probably make a new high here, and so I like that one. It gives you 2 legs up. It looks like we're going to reverse here, and then it just turns back up. Now I'm going to show you something. I didn't mark this trade because there's not enough room to get out here. Notice that you get a little reversal pattern after making a new high where it could reverse, but and it would have worked, but you don't have. You could trade this on the engulfing bar, but it doesn't help you but about a tick. There's just not room to get out. It looks like it would have worked in the end, but you can't risk that. You don't know that. And so it just reversed, and I don't see any reason. You might say, okay, well, there's another bounce down here, but there's just too much stem. I don't like that signal bar. It's not a good enough signal bar. And it takes off. And what you do is you get a spike in new channel here. And it ends up going sideways first, but there's still a channel working up there. I don't see anything I like to the long side, but when we're chopping sideways here, you get a little failed breakout and it closes back inside. We'd already had a close outside, and that makes a new high too. So this thing could just reverse here. So with there being plenty of room back down, I like going short, just playing the range right there. I went back and forth about whether to make that one green because we are in somewhat of an up channel here, but there's not enough proof really yet that this was valid channel because it looks more sideways than anything, and we just went straight on outside of it. But it runs up, and there is a second entry long here, but you can't go long into that the resistance. And there's another second entry here, but we just made a new high. If there's enough room here, you might take this trade. And you can see there's just barely enough room there. And we've already had a break in new high, but that's a possibility. I didn't like it. We didn't quite get back to the EMA either. And so I wasn't crazy about that one, but you might take that trade. Then we drop down. There's a lower high here, but again, there's a lot of support across there. I just don't think you should, and you've moved a little bit there down. I think you're better off to wait. And if you wait a few minutes later, you get a hidden second entry here. I marked it green because it's a hidden second entry, and technically you don't really you get to close outside and the new high all in one bar. It is right at the key entry point, so maybe you take that one. It's not ideal either. Then you get another second entry here, but that just looks like congestion, so I'd skip it too. We're away from the EMA as well. And then we run down here, we bounce, and then we just kind of bounce along here. The only reason I like this one is because it is a first entry, second entry, and it confirms this trend line here. So the problem is we're looking for a short still on this right here. So I'm a little wary of this, but at the same time, it's clearly a trend line. It's clearly a second entry long. It's 2 legs back. So maybe you take that one. And you can see we did work on up before we finally came down and made a new low right here. That's just a first entry, no signal bar. And then we get a little overshoot. We come back first entry, second entry. So again, you get another second entry. We did just have a possible overshoot. If you move this up, it still somewhat fits in there. So it's hard to say if that's an overshoot or not. So that makes this one difficult as well because we're clearly in an uptrend here right now. So maybe you take that trade. Again, I marked it green. It's a very good signal bar. It's a little large, but 15 ticks. But it's good for a scalp, and then it turns down. And then you get a 1, 2, 3 triple test here, and a nice reversal signal bar right off the yesterday's close. So now we've tested that 3 times. I like going long there. And you might catch, because we pushed a little lower here, you might catch one of those important lows for the day. And sure enough, it was kind of an important low there before we ran all the way back to the highs again. There's just a first entry there. It looks congested. And then of course this channel runs on up, and then you get a first entry, second entry right at the EMA. You're looking for a retest of this high. There's still plenty of room up here. I like that one. And of course we test this a few times and turn down. I don't see a good chance to go short there though. And you do get a second entry here, but that's too sideways, too congested, not a good enough signal bar. But notice you make a new low, first entry, lower high, so that's a second entry short right there. Clearly working off that trend line, working down. It's a little choppy, but we're still working lower. I think you're fine on that trade. And then that takes us, actually that's a new low, so there's a first entry and then a second entry all in one, but there's nothing there, and that kind of takes us into 230, so there really wasn't anything else you could trade there. So that's how I saw it today. We got a good start early on. Not the best day, but just going back and looking at that 1,000 tick chart, maybe if you tweak that to 12 or 1,500 and see what that looks like, I may play with it a little bit and let it run in the background, maybe take a few test trades on it myself. Now, when I say test trades, by all means, when you're testing things like that, that means you're testing it in sim. Don't go trading it live. I think you'd be okay to trade at least no smaller than 1,000 tick after what I saw today. If it looks similar tomorrow, I think you're safe trading that live if you're a profitable trader. But if you're learning and all, don't go trying to trade that live. Just get on the simulator and do your thing. Take every trade that you think fits our criteria and then study, 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 because it's all about study, practice, and repetition of in using live data. So not replay, not not. I mean, if that's all you got and charts are all you got to look at, by all means study them because it still helps. But there's nothing that takes the place of sim trading live data directly from the markets, because it's the same thing as if you're trading live, except you don't use real money. So if you can trade it, if you can trade live data on the simulator and be successful, it means you can do it live if you get your head straight and stay disciplined. So just remember that. So we always want to sim trade live data during regular market hours. Real market hours, not going back replay after the fact, or not the middle of the night stuff, because it's too slow. Don't waste your time practicing in the middle of the night. You'll sit there for hours and hours waiting on a bar or two to finish. So you need to be trading from 7 a.m. Central Time. You have to convert this to your time frame, but from about 7 a.m. Central to about 2:30 p.m. Central. And anything outside of that, just forget it. Don't waste your time. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I think it's really, I want to thank that trader for putting that thought back in my head, because we used to do that. We used to flip charts. When it get real volatile, we'd go to smaller charts, and I just quit doing it because it was such a hassle and I really didn't need to do it. It's probably helpful for other traders, but some traders won't want to do that. You want to just stick to what's working and you don't change it. And but we used to do that, and because it did help. So it's worth revisiting that again, and taking a look at that again. Try 1,000, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500, and that should reduce the size of your bar some. And it might give you, one thing it might give you on these really strong moves up, it might give you a better opportunity to second entry where you normally don't get them. So there's different things that it can do for you. I think it smooths out the price action somewhat. So that's what I've noticed comparing these two charts, is it did smooth the price action out a little bit. We didn't have as much of the choppy stuff, it seems like. This part right here, I know there were multiple second entries, where here we only got one really, and there were multiple on that other chart, and all of them would have worked. So anyway, something to think about. Hope that was helpful. Hope you had a good trading day. Again, just a reminder about the second entry indicator. If you don't have one of those, or haven't used it, or don't know anything about it, go to the site. Look at it. There's a video of it in operation when you follow the link to it. And if you find it helpful, try to pick you up one. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.